Hello, everyone, and welcome to Venita's podcast. I really appreciate you guys spending time with me and Justin this afternoon because time is, to me, my most valuable asset. Because none of us know how much of it we have left. So I really, really do appreciate every single minute that I have here. Um, we are going to be talking about health and wellness, and I have a very special guest that I just met, and I'm so excited. I can't stop smiling since I met him, and I just met him on the screen here. His name is Mr. Justin Fuller, and he is a board member of the Freedom Academy Training Center in North Carolina. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you so much for the invitation and being here today. And I too am so excited about what it is that you're doing in this particular space. So I look forward to our conversation today.
Awesome, awesome. So, can we start out just by telling our audience a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Freedom Academy Training Center, and how you got involved? Just take us on a little journey of how you got to where you are with this organization.
Okay, so I've been a part of the Freedom Training Center Academy for some years now, with Miss Oredes and Mr. Aaron. And one of the things that I love about this particular opportunity is that we're able to give back. We're able to find people, not just young people, older people at any stage in life, identify where it is that you are, but most importantly, what do you want to do moving forward, and how can we achieve that goal together? So that's the primary focus of the organization and what it is that we do. It's a great nonprofit. I love being a part of this particular group because I get the chance to see people grow. I get an opportunity to see people when they have that spark, when they have that realization of who it is that they are, what it is that they can do, and how they can move forward. So I just love what it is I do working with the academy. And in that, Mr. Radis and I came together initially off of insurance. And
Okay.
that's how we first met. It was the selling of insurance. And she is a dynamic personality that just kind of just grabs you in, right? And I just love that about her. And we met over that, and over the years we were able to grow our professional relationship in a way that, like I said, we were able to just see people grow. Now, that vision of the Freedom Training Center was something that was birthed out of her. So it came from out of a need that she's seen that was in the community, and that was how it originated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been growing ever since. And
Wow.
I'm just glad to be a part of that.
Awesome, awesome. So you guys met while she was trying to sell you insurance, or are you selling her, or are you both insurance agents? How did
Well,
that all come about? The insurance
actually,
portion.
I was just getting into insurance, and she was a part of the team that I was working with. And
Okay.
she was just kind of leading me and guiding me, showing me some of the ropes and giving me some information about how the process goes, and some of the different tools and techniques that were currently being used. So when I was a much, much younger man, there was a agent
Uh-huh.
that actually came to the house, and they would sit down every year and they would go over policies and things like that. Every so often the agent would just come. That was how I first was introduced to the insurance people, right? As I got older and as the world began to change, so did the methods. So when COVID had initially had set in, the agent was no longer coming to the home. So they utilized things like a Zoom and things of that
Yep.
nature to still make sure they were meeting the needs of the people, and still getting them the assistance that they needed,
Yep.
still getting them the policies that were needed, the updates that were needed. And at that time, it was a very scary time for some people because they really just, no one knows the day nor time. However, in
Exactly.
that instance, it was really like, people were just leaving out of fear left and right. So since that is the case, again, she was introducing me and walking me through some of the more modern ways of dealing with insurance.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting because I am too an insurance broker. I don't know if I told you that since we just met.
Yes.
I am health and life insurance broker, and I do exactly what you just said. I go and sit at kitchen tables almost all day, and I explain to folks. I do what you call a confidential needs analysis,
Hmm.
and help them by asking the right questions, and based on their answers, then I'm able to help them. And COVID, as you mentioned, COVID was, wow, that was really a scary time. I started, and you're right, we couldn't go house to house. I started the Medicare and Retirement Planning show. It was a radio show because I could not see my clients, and I would call them to connect with them. And then, actually, that year, we were essential workers. Number one, we couldn't just stop working. It wasn't like we worked at a factory and, we're not making pillowcases or cars or whatever anymore. We were considered essential workers, especially myself, because I'm a Medicare agent. And as people turn 65, they lose their health care with, the Affordable Health Care Act, and then they go on to Medicare. So I had to, excuse me, I had to continue to do that. And the way I found to do that was over the radio. Yeah. And so I reached out to everybody over the radio. And then another thing that I did, instead, I would talk to them over the phone, and I had to make 2 or 3 trips to their house because I would have to bring the application because I advocate for seniors.
Hmm.
No one's tech savvy. Most of them don't have email. So instead of e-signing applications, I would have a conversation, drive to their house, put the application in the mailbox. They would come and get it, do whatever they need to do, and I would drive back the next day and get it once they put it in there. So, I worked 3 times as hard during COVID, but Medicare is my passion. I'm from a community where there wasn't a lot of information, and so my passion is giving information on every single level that I possibly can. And healthcare is, what I thrive at. And I just feel so good when I help people. You know,
Right.
I mean,
Ab-
and there's nothing more important than our health and having insurance and taking care of your family. So I help people protect themselves, protect their family, and protect their nest egg too. And so this is what we were gonna have this conversation about. We're gonna do a big healthcare with Erin and Andreas is her name.
Outrageous. Yes, ma'am.
Aratus. Okay, not Andreas. Aratus. I think I spelled it wrong and it's in my head now. Aratus. And she, as I was talking to her, she's an amazing person. You're right.
Uh,
She kept having visions over the phone and asking me questions. And they're going to come down here, and we're going to sit in the studio and do this all again, and maybe do like some kind of pop up shop or whatever. But I wanted to ask you, um, in terms of the academy, the Freedom Academy Training Center, what part of the insurance you guys focus on? You said you help young, old, everybody. Is it life insurance that you guys focus on, or is it?
So when it comes to the insurance part of it,
Mm-hmm.
the main focus is on primarily the older folks
Okay.
and making sure that they at least, if nothing else, have what they need for burial. Now,
Okay.
the average funeral is, let's say, $8,000 to $10,000, right? That is a policy that is manageable and affordable for just about anyone. At
Okay.
least if you have the burial policy in place, you won't find yourself in a situation where you think that there's finances there that are not actually there, depending on how your policy is structured. That's why it's important that we have people that actually go in, sit down at the kitchen table or
Mm-hmm.
virtually, however it needs to be done, and go over the policies that people actually have. Because it's important. And it's important to know what kind of coverage you really do have, right? In the
Hundred
event that
percent.
something does happen, I recall someone that is very close to me, their husband passed away. They were under the impression that they had a $100,000 policy. They had a $10,000 policy. because of the way that the policy was structured. Now, if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know.
I always say
And
that. 100%.
unfortunately, there are some agents that will sell you something that looks really nice to pad their commissions. And it's unfortunate that that is the case, but it does happen. That's why it's important that there are people that really care about people that will go in and rectify that situation. So when it comes to like a senior, it doesn't really have to be a senior citizen, to be honest with you, because in today's time, as I said earlier, you just never know what's going to happen. People are coming away from here left and right, old and young. So everyone really needs that policy that, again, will at least give you the finances to go ahead and have a proper burial. And you do what you must at the time, but we should get sick of seeing we're going to have a plate sale for brother so and so's funeral because we don't have enough money to bury them.
That
With
happens
this,
way too often.
we
Way too
have,
often.
or we have to wait to get the funds together to be able to bury you. This person could have passed a month ago,
Yep.
but now we're trying to pull money from various different places simply to bury our loved ones. And I think that that is where a lot of issues come into play. But when you already have something that is set into place, already communicated to the funeral home, this is what my loved one wants. We already communicated to the family, and this is what I want and need to happen when I pass away. I'm going away from here at some time. I'm going to make it easy on you and all the other family. And I'm
Amen.
not talking about all these different policies. I'm talking about burial, and that is it.
Yep.
Again,
Burial.
you have that policy in place. Now, I hope that we wouldn't be fighting over things that are insignificant. However, let's be honest,
They
people
do.
do it all the time. But
Unfortunately, you're right.
at least we will be able to go ahead and bury mom, dad, grandma, whoever, and without any type of issue, without any type of problem. And there's a document that Miss Oratus uses, and it has all that information right there on the document. The funeral home, any specific wishes that you may have,
Mm-hmm.
the things that you actually want to have done, and what you don't want. Everything is there. The policy information, everything is there. So, in the event something were to happen, even the funeral home has a copy of the document. Everyone, so this is why it's important. No one wants to have the conversation about mom passing away, but it's important because if you don't have the difficult conversation now, there will be chaos later. My
Absolutely.
mother went home to be with the Lord some years ago, about 6 years ago now. There was a book that my mother had, and that's what she simply called it. It was simply the book.
The book.
In the book were instructions on
Mm-hmm.
everything that she wanted to have done moving forward. There was no question because everything was in the book. And Mr. Radis has a similar document where everything is on the sheet. All the policy information was in the book for all policies.
Right.
All of her wishes were in the book. And that allowed me to see how this can really be done firsthand and in my own family, so that when I go and talk to people, I know that this is something that really does indeed work because I've seen it work for myself. And I think sometimes some people need to see that and know that, and I need to share that with people so that they understand how significant this actually is. I'm not wishing death on any person. Please don't misunderstand me.
Right.
However, we do need to be very realistic about where we currently find ourselves in the world in which we live in. It's just, I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Wouldn't you rather have your loved ones be ready and prepared rather than they be caught off guard, not prepared, running around frantic, trying to figure out what the next steps need to be? And I mean, and let's be honest, $10,000 policy, depending on what your wishes are. And I'm just using a $10,000 policy
Sure,
just for
sure.
example. But depending on what your wishes actually are, that can go towards the burial. That can be the money for the repast. That could be in other little fees and things that go along with this process that at the time you may not be thinking about because you are hurt, you're distraught, you're in a certain place of mind where you're frustrated, you're angry, you're sad, you're going through the grieving process. Why not make it just a little bit easier and more manageable?
Well said. That's, you know what? That's exactly what I try to do as an insurance agent. And you hit on something really important. I think step number one is spreading the word and having everybody understand and get the information, understand the type of policy you already have. If you have one, and if you don't have one, understand why you need it. And it's really all about the person sitting in front of you, because you touched on a lot of things as I was listening. Agents that would, you know, expand the commission and underfund the policy and all types of things. And so it makes it a little difficult for people that we haven't met to trust us. So, one of the things that I do is the free confidential needs analysis, and I educate people. I tell them the difference. Here's the thing, I've run into so many different things. I've been in the business for like 12 years, not real long, but enough to see a lot of different things. I sit down and I hand write out on a piece of paper the difference between term life insurance, accidental life insurance, whole life insurance. Because I've had situations where, you know, people have passed and they pull out an accidental policy, and that's not going to get anything. So it is important to understand what you have. Number one. So that was the thing that you hit on. The second thing is the agent sitting in front of you. You have to understand and you have to trust them, and they have to do their job. Okay, it's not about the commission. I do a lot of work for free because I work for Medicare, and with all the cuts now, I'm just working for free because they cut a lot of things. But anyway, going back to this, you need to understand what you need to have in place. I say it 100 times a day: get your affairs in order, talk to your family, let everybody know where everything is. And I have so many different forms. I have a budget. If you can't afford insurance, I'll put you on the cheapest term policy, which is temporarily, you know, like a 10-year policy or something like that. It is important to do exactly what your mom did: have a book, also known as a will. Draw out, write out exactly what it is you want to happen, especially if you have more than one child, because there's going to be a fight. One's going to want to do this and one's going to want to do that. Get yourself a will. And you know, wills are expensive. You can get a legal service and get a free will for, you know, $29, $39 a month. I have a legal service. Not only does it give you a template to follow and questions to ask you so you can fill it out, but it gives you the free will, it gives you the medical directive, it gives you the power of attorney, and it gives you access to legal help. A lot of us black and brown people in poor communities, humble communities, whatever you want to call it, get in trouble because we don't have access to legal advice. And so all of this comes into play. When you sit down with me, there's going to be three. The first visit is long. I always warn people it's not going to be a highlight of your day, but we're going to discuss some things and we're going to put some things in order, and then you're going to be able to sleep at night. You know,
Right.
and when you talk to your family about it, I'm an insurance agent. When I talk to my kids, and my kids are 29 and 33, like, mommy, I can't handle that right now. I'm like, are you kidding me? You have to have the conversation. You have to know where documents are. I've had clients lose uh, I'm not application policies, not know where it is and have to pay for it. And the worst thing I could think of when you're grieving, like you mentioned before, is not having the money to bury your loved one. Having to go beg, basically, do a GoFundMe, have a dinner sale or whatever the heck it is. You have to get everything in order. It's just so important. And it's not just about burial, too. Life insurance goes way deeper than that, but that is, the first part. If you don't have anything in order, if you don't have anything in place, you're going to leave someone a burden. And that's the bottom line. Who's going to take care of who are you going to leave that burden to if you don't have everything in place? Have a candid conversation, write it down, get the family together, and know exactly what you want to do. Like I do. I have all mine written out. My family is going to be all set because I have all boys, they can't handle it. So I have everything all written out exactly what I want to do, and have
Right.
your affairs in order, especially if you have assets. Look at some of our celebrities, billionaires, Prince, Robin Williams, and they didn't even have a will. So
Right.
if you have
Right.
assets, it's even more important to have not just a will but a trust, you know?
Right.
So I'm
So
sorry, go ahead.
now you're getting into a whole. You're about to open up a big old can of worms here, and you
I
talk about
know.
having trust and things like that. But
Yeah,
you are absolutely right. But we fail because we plan to fail. We
yeah,
plan we don't plan to succeed. That's why we fail at different things, and
exactly.
it's really unfortunate. But that is the reality. And like you made mention within the Black and Brown community, underserved, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
you don't want to have those crucial conversations. But in some of those other communities, okay, we're going to take out $100,000 policy on grandma.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take out one for this household. Your brother's going to take out one. Your sister's going to take out one. When grandma passes, yes, it will be unfortunate, but you are setting up that money is going to be your college fund,
That's right.
right? We were setting up for you to be successful long term. Now, given that's just an example of what could possibly happen, but let's be honest, that is exactly what is happening in some of these other communities, right?
Exactly.
And they are taking care of themselves and they are taking care of their loved ones by taking care of their deceased members of their family in the appropriate way. Yes, it may be expensive at a certain point, but look at this long term.
Exactly.
Let's just say you pay into a policy $50 a month, and unexpectedly that member of the family passes away. Yes, you will be sad, but you will be able to take care of all of their final expenses and have something left over to make sure that uh, if they wanted to leave something to their grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about legacy now. What
Exactly.
kind of legacy are we actually leaving for those who are going to come behind us? I would be so upset if I worked my entire life to provide a certain quality of life for my children and my family. And so only when I pass away, everything dwindle away as though I never did anything at all because they were not able, well, one, if I didn't properly prepare them. And two, if I did not give them what was needed and necessary so that they can be successful and continue on the work that I have been doing. Just a thought. Just a thought.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, what happened here? Are you
Did he
still
drop?
there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I just hit something because it said your meeting is going to end in about 10 minutes, and I just hit something. I'm not sure what it
Okay.
is.
Yeah,
Uh,
X out of that.
just exit out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. It's a live podcast, but you're
Venita,
absolutely
before you begin, we can edit this out, but we may have to restart the meeting because it's looking for a paid account.
okay.
Uh, we're on Zoom. We should have been on Google, but we
Okay.
can restart Zoom and do.
Okay. All right. So we could edit this.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
absolutely.
Good. I didn't know if we could edit or not. The other show I do, there's no editing. It is what it is. But you know what? This is great information. And my thing is, how do we get this information into every single household?
So
What do you do to get it there, to, you start with the children, and if you start with the children and they start learning in, I don't know, kindergarten to save their money, because this is what I did with my kids. I came from a very poor area. We had nothing, single family, the whole nine. And when I had my children, I had them start the old school passbook savings account. And whenever they got birthday money, they would start saving their money. One of my sons right now saves like 30% of his salary. It's just, you start them young and
Right.
teach them how to do that, and teach financial literacy, something the black and brown community have not been taught because of, how we started. But,
Absolutely.
in the past, few decades, that has changed. There's a lot of generational wealth being passed through black and brown families. There's more black billionaires than I knew existed. So, just starting with, you don't have to be a billionaire, starting with whatever you have, teach and educate, because that's what I like to do when I walk into a home. I am going to protect people in the four areas that will impact their lives the most. So we're talking about healthcare,
Right.
long term care, which is a whole nother can of worms, life insurance, and retirement income. Today, we're focusing on the life insurance part, not leaving a burden to someone, and protecting your family and educating your family, and hopefully start some type of generational wealth, even if it's 50,000 or 10,000, whatever it is. It's a beginning so that the next generation will be informed and start earlier and have more, and will pass it on. And that's how you grow as, as a family. And that's how
I
you
think
protect your family. You protect grandma. You protect your grandkids with
mhm,
life insurance money. I can tell you stories, and I am going to tell you just one little quick story about life insurance. There was an organization, I don't know if they're good, bad, legal, or illegal. They took all of their money that they made, and they, well, not all of it, but most of their money, and they put it into life insurance. They put it into IULs, whole life. Why? Life insurance is 100% tax free. Okay. Fast forward 20 years or to the next generation, they took that money out of life insurance, 100% tax free, the cash value portion of it, and bought casinos in Las Vegas. Legitimately, did not have to explain it to anyone. That's how you generate wealth, through life insurance. And you can take the money and take care of your loved ones. You have your burial, and you could do whatever else is next with it. It doesn't have to stop there, and that's what I like to teach. Go ahead, Justin.
there's so many different things that you just touched on there. So
Oh,
one of the things that really stand out to me, like you said, there were so many black or brown billionaires that you didn't know were in
yeah,
existence. Why not? Right? That's the issue in and of itself, right? Because I think we need to see what can be by those who are actually walking out this way of life and this way of thinking right now. And I'm not talking about the entertainers and the athletes and those folks. I am talking about the people that you walk up and down the street with every single day and you have no idea, like you said, that they're worth billions of dollars. And I'm not talking about going out and flaunting your wealth or anything like that. But I think it's important that we show people what actually can be and what is available to you if you come out here, work hard, manage your money the appropriate way. And again, you're creating legacy, right?
that's
And
right.
and it is so important that we change our thinking when it comes to this. But because if you don't change your thinking, you're going to be doomed to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And I heard this once before, and it made so much sense to me. We have our we have different people, right? You go to church, you pay your tithes, you do what you feel as though whatever your religion is telling you to do, right?
Right.
Why is it that we cannot have something in place? Now I'm talking about those good old church mothers and these folks who are doing what they need to do. Let's put it that way, right? Why doesn't the church have a policy on those members? So when their time comes,
Mhm.
they will be taken care of. in any and
Exactly.
every way. Like the family, you have whatever policy you have for them. But as far as the members of this house, they will be covered, right? Now
Exactly.
I'm paying these tithes every month consistently for the betterment of my community, for the betterment of my church. I believe in the mission, I believe in the vision, I believe in what it is that's going on and how we can move forward, the missions that we want to have within the community. Again, if you look at what these policies could really do in the community, again, creating a, well, wait a minute, that church did what? They buried who?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no burden on the family. Wait a minute, that is so. And when I heard, I said, wow, that is absolutely amazing. But would they be willing to do it? Now I know that there's probably some things to go along with that, but again, it is a way that we can take that wealth,
Mm-hmm.
keep it within the community, and you can finally get that roof that y'all been saving for since 1964.
Exactly.
I'm tired of the building funds and these things that it never seems to come to fruition because something always happens. But when
Exactly.
you have this kind of thing going on, and it's not, you're not, your members aren't dropping like flies. Okay, this isn't going to be some windfall of money. That's not what I'm saying. But at the time, at the appropriate time, when the Lord calls them home, you will not only be a blessing to their family, because that is one less thing that they have to be concerned with, but that will in turn allow you to do things within the church, do things within the community, do things that are actually going to give back to go along with your overall thought and vision for what you want this to be. Again, we have to get out of this life insurance is just this little box, and
Exactly.
we, we
Oh.
we put it there, we set it on the shelf, and we never think about it
Mm-hmm.
until something happens. There is so much more that this can actually do for you, right? As
Yep.
opposed to it being a burden on you. But we have to change the way we think about it. We have to
Absolutely.
change the way the experiences that we have had, the things that we have gone through, and where we currently find ourselves. We just need to make some adjustments. And as we
Exactly.
make the appropriate adjustments, just like you made mention, we have to start with our children.
That's where it
As young as
begins.
they will, if you do it when they're babies, as they get older, they will maintain it and they will keep it. My son doesn't spend a dime, not a dime, right? And if you say, well, wait a minute, where's your money? He reconsiders and he says, you know what? Maybe I don't need that. Maybe that's not, it's not as important when you go into your own savings as opposed to using dad and mom's money, right? That changes
Yep.
things. However, I do like the fact that he is not just so willing to just go and spend, 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 spend. The money's not burning a hole in his pocket. He doesn't feel as though I have to have this or I have to have that and I'm going to spend all of my money to get it. No, there. I tell him all the time. I said, I think you have more money than I do. Because he's now given his mother and I and our family, we take care of each other. I think that it's important that we take the time out to teach them where as much that but also give them the tools to take it a step further and to do more. I think
Absolutely.
that's going to be very important. My parents taught me for um, everything that they knew, and as far as they can take me, they took me. And where they stopped, they allowed me to go further, and they pushed me to go further. They didn't let their lack of knowledge stop them or hinder them from giving me what it is that I really needed to be successful in life and move forward. And they didn't allow their pride to prevent them from giving me what it is that I needed. Some people, they will not give or share that information for fear that my child will
Jealousy.
will know more than me, or they will acquire more than me.
Hmm.
We don't understand sometimes in our community. When I rise, you will rise as well, and it's not always the case, but more often than not, that is the case.
It is.
We don't have to have this crabs in a barrel mentality that limits what we can do and how far we can go and develop, and prevents us from really making the kind of impact that we need to make in the world today. But again, it is up to us to make sure that we're properly positioning and placing ourselves so that we can indeed be successful.
Oh my goodness, that's exactly the way I feel. And I just had this conversation with my son. I said, "I took you as far as I could go. I want you to go get your bachelor's, your master's, your PhD, whatever it is that you can do because I don't know what I don't know." And that's one of my favorite sayings. If you watch my shows, you'll see that all over the place. I don't know what I don't know, but learn what you can from everyone else.
And
You
I
know,
believe that you can learn something
yeah,
from everyone,
I
and
think so.
everything is a learning experience. So my sister says everything we experience in life is a teachable moment.
Exactly.
How are you going to utilize this to learn something, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent? So I like to tell people now, so I do motivational and encouraging and speakings on my platform of JQ Speaks, right? And I utilize that to encourage people and motivate, but more importantly than that, again, and I've mentioned this earlier, when we can identify the things that we have been through and how they can actually help us, the things that I've experienced in my life has shaped the person that you see in front of you now. If it had not been for those good times, if it had not been for those bad times, if it
That's
had
right.
not been for those times where I've had to struggle in different areas, I would not be the person who's sitting before you. That would mean that when I see someone who's struggling, I wouldn't know what it looks like. I wouldn't know what it feels like. I wouldn't be able to identify with what that person has going on. And ultimately, give them what they needed, because sometimes you can be in a storm and not know what you need because it can be just that heavy. And I truly believe that there are people that are strategically positioned and placed in our lives to be able to speak to those situations as we go through them. Everything is not always going to be a burning bush experience, and the Lord is going to come down and say, Justin, this is what I have for you.
Exactly. That's so
In this
profound.
loud, resounding voice.
Mhm.
It can be that person who identifies, remembers what that's like. Wait a minute, Justin, I see that you're going through something. And
Mhm.
I know this because I went through something very similar, if not the same thing. This is what I did to get through that time. And I think it could be helpful and beneficial to you right now as you go through this season. I just wanted to share that with you. That is God speaking to you, whether you realize it or not. That is divine intervention, whether you realize it or not.
Mhm.
It's not always, like I said, it's not always going to be that loud, resounding voice. But after that conversation, something should be pricked in your spirit that lets you know that, yes, that's exactly what it was that I needed
Yep.
to make it through. And as you make it through, remember, because this may not be an issue any longer, but it is going to be an issue from someone else. That's why I think it's important that we don't hold on to these things like, they never existed and they never happened. Yes, it could have been terrible and traumatic, and it's not for everyone to know. But you will know the appropriate times when you need to share what you need to share so that you can get through to that person. See, now we're talking again.
Yeah.
This is life. We're talking about insurance. However, insurance goes with every single part of life
It
if
does.
you are utilizing it in the appropriate manner. And I think that's why it's really important to have these conversations about what can actually be and how this can be utilized to help rather than to hinder. It can be used to encourage instead of discourage, but we have to have the conversations. We have to start young with the conversations. This is why I'm putting a policy on grandma.
Exactly.
This is why we have this in place.
Yep.
And they need to know as well, in the event something happens to mom and dad, guess what? You kids need to know where these documents are. You need to know what to do, how to handle these funds, because Auntie so and so could swoop in and take everything right from under you if you don't know what's going on. Now, again, we would hope that those things don't happen,
They
but we
do.
also have to be honest.
They do
They happen.
happen though. Yeah, they
They
do
do
happen.
happen.
Yep.
So, but if you are prepared
That's right.
and you have a sound mind, and I have raised you to the best of my ability to be able to handle any situation that you may face, you will be prepared to handle that as well. but we
100.
have to have the difficult conversations. We have to teach, and we have to also hold each other accountable. Wait a minute, you're going to buy a $300 pair of shoes and not pay for your life insurance this month? Absolutely not. That is not
That's
being a good
no.
steward over your finances and what it is that you need to have. And again, it is something that happens. Why is it that the last thing that we think about is our life insurance policy? The last thing we think about are those things that will help and benefit and be a blessing to our families. Now, as we're going through and life is happening, sometimes things get tight, but that's just a conversation you can have with your provider. Wait a minute, this is going on, but again, the life insurance is the last thing that's looked at, and then it lapses, and then you're in a whole different ball game. And again, if you forget about it, that's the last thing you're thinking about, so it's not going to be at the forefront of your mind. So if it lapses, you think that you have it, and you haven't had life insurance for the past 2 years,
Oh,
but it's not on the forefront of your mind. We need to make sure that it's something that not only do we think about, yes, great, when we set up the policy and this is going to be awesome and wonderful, but we also need to make sure we're doing maintenance on our policies as we progress, get older. Different parameters are set in the policies for different time frames. My father had I'm the youngest of seven, so he had some substantial policies. But once he hit a certain age, all that money went away. And it's just the way that the policy was set.
was it a
Now,
term policy?
it was.
Okay,
It
that's what
was.
happened. Yeah,
It was.
and
So
sometimes you don't know that.
right, right. But what he knew,
Okay,
we knew,
okay.
right? But at this, and don't get me wrong, I'm not wishing anything ill on my father. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying to you. However, he had substantial amounts of money in these policies. But again, once he hit a certain age, they just, they went away. And let me put it to you this way: we would be living very comfortably right now if something would have happened to my father during that time. And again, I'm not wishing any ill will on my father or anyone else, but he planned appropriately for a time. And that's what we need to do, is plan appropriately. Now, when he set those policies up, I think that no one really sat down and went over what they really were, especially since the people in our family lived to be much older than this age was. However, he did have that coverage, and he has other policies as well, but he did have that set up at that time. And again, I just think it's important that, every so often, if it's yearly, every other year, somebody needs to be looking at these policies to make sure that everything is still intact, still in order, still in place. Because again, we have moved away from the agent that is going to call you and come around every year and go over policies and things like that. We've moved away from that. Since that's the case, we need to be making sure we're doing our own preventative maintenance for ourselves and
Ex-
making sure that everything is intact.
Exactly. And just to add to that, when you check your policies every year, you should look at them every year, every other year, every 5 years, and check all the beneficiaries. You may have
Mhm.
had another grandchild that's not included. What if something happens and only one grandchild gets it? So, having that knowledge, that education, that experience that you were just talking about with life insurance, going through things, that's just experience. Life insurance connecting with experience. I've had this happen and I want to make sure it doesn't happen to you.
Absolutely.
So, this is one of the things that, I want to go back to for just a moment when you were talking about the churches having policies on their congregation. I didn't want to just jump in at that point, but I wanted to touch on that. I sit down with people that also have policies, and the church is one of their beneficiaries because they feel, and I learned this from a client, you learn from everybody. They feel that once they pass on, the church is going to lose money because they're no longer giving to it. So
Yes.
you can utilize
Yes.
this in so many different ways. I think the important thing for me is to get the information to you and to sit down with you and or your family, and have a candid conversation with you and have you understand what it is you have and what it is you need. And one of the
Right.
ways that I do that is I have three circles. You touched on a lot of things that I do. We have so much in common with the budget, the $300 sneakers. I have the importance of retirement planning. And nobody thinks about it when you're in your 30s. I have three circles: your now money, your emergency money, and your retirement money. And I go through that whole thing. And then with that presentation, I do your now money. I say your now money, it goes into your checking account. You pay your bills, all your bills, your cost of living. And then whatever's left over goes into your emergency account to build up that 3 to 6 months worth of emergency money in case the government shuts down or in case COVID hits or whatever your emergency is. And so I that is when I ask the question, how much are you saving on a monthly basis? And when I hear nothing, I shut down almost immediately. I say, okay, now is not the time for you to look into getting something you cannot afford. And then I pull out a budget and I talk about, okay, if your little child is walking around with $200 Nikes on and you don't have a $10 a month term policy on your 15-year-old, then you need to reevaluate, reprioritize what you're spending your money on. And I put them on a budget and I tell them to start saving money automatically, even if it's $25 a week, an amount that you're not going to miss, an amount that you're not going to go back and get, an amount that's not for going shopping, not for vacations, and not for any of that stuff.
Hmm.
That's just the amount that you save. So there's a process in teaching how to get insurance. First you got to educate on why you need it, and then you got to teach them, a lot of folks, how to save for it and how to plan for it and how to pay for it. And the way to pay for, you were talking about this as well, the way to pay for your insurance is the only way to pay for it is automatic EFT, electronic funds
Transfer.
transfer. You
Hmm.
can't write a check. It might be late. It might, and if you get there late and you die, you have no insurance. So that's the only way to do it. And you have to have the funds available. And if the check bounce, then you get a little grace period or something, 20 days or whatever it is to pay for it. But Justin, the thing is, we got to get it into the houses. We got to get them
Right.
to watch these podcasts. You
Right.
got to
And
have life insurance.
but the what so where my primary job, if you know anyone who knows me, I do a lot. I'm always busy. I'm always doing something.
Uh-huh.
My wife tells me all the time I need to go somewhere and sit down. But um, one of the things that I share with people all the time is
Mhm.
just like you made mention of that emergency fund,
Yes.
right? What does that actually look like? Okay, and what are you really spending your money on?
Mhm.
Okay, I don't have the money to have to have an emergency fund, and I don't have the money to do this. And I say, okay, let's look at the course of, let's take 1 week out of the month. You just got paid last Friday. What did you do with your money? Well, I paid this bill, I did that, I did this, I did that, I did that. Do you have a budget? No, I don't have a budget. I just pay my bills. If you don't have a budget, you're losing money every
Mhm.
single month because you're not keeping track of the money that you have coming in. So you can't keep track of what you have going. If you're not keeping track of it when it comes in, you're not keeping track of it as it goes out. So the church I go to, they said, of course, everyone needs to have a budget, right?
Mhm.
They set out the budget sheets, fill out the budget sheet, actually make it. Now don't say that you're doing all these things and you're not going to do this. Make this realistic so that you will follow the budget that you've set into place. And as you begin to assign money to different places, you will find that you have money that you did not initially know that you had,
Mhm.
because before you were just spending money frivolously on random things, a $20 meal here, a $15 shirt there, You get that wallet that you've been eyeing for the past 3 months, or whatever the case may be,
Right.
right? But if you are operating off of your budget, of course, you have your expenses and the things that you have to pay for. You do have that. You should have some savings in there as well. You should also have money for an emergency fund in there as well. And you should have some play money in there too. Because if I'm going to work every day, and again, I say that this needs to be realistic, you're not going to set up a budget where you don't have something where you do something for yourself. Let's be honest here. So if
Exactly.
that's what you're setting up, that's not going to be realistic. You're going to break from the budget. As soon as you mess up, it's going to be like, oh, well, I messed up. I told you I couldn't do this. That's because you're not being realistic. But when
And
you do it, go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry. And it's important to write it down.
Absolutely.
You have to have it in writing. You can't
Hmm.
just say, "Oh, I'm gonna pay this, that, and the other." You gotta have it in writing, and you gotta follow it. And like you said, here's my budget. The way I set it up, the very first item is I pay myself first. That way you're always able to save. I learned that from experience. I used to have all these credit card bills and everything. By the time I pay all my bills, there's nothing left. So I pay myself first and I pay everything else after. And if I don't have enough for everything else, I see where I can cut back. Do I need to pay $200 to watch TV? Can I get an app for 50 or, I try to work it out, but I pay myself first and that's automatically. So, Justin, we have just a couple of minutes left. How can we get in touch with you? We're gonna put your lower thirds on later, but what is what's your contact information? I want everybody out there to be able to contact either you or your organization or whoever you want us to.
Right. So if you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me by email at jqspeaks@yahoo.com. Again, like I made mention, I do public speaking and motivational speaking quite a bit. I've found that that is one way that I can give back to my community. And it's a way for me to do something that doesn't feel like work at all. I love to do this. I love to have these conversations. And
Mm-hmm.
someone shared something with me years ago, and I'm sure you've heard it. If you can do something, anything in life, and if you can do it and do it for free, that's what you should be doing.
Oh
You know,
my
that is your
goodness.
calling. That is where you will find happiness and joy and fulfillment. And I find that in what it is that I do right now. The great thing is that I've been able to find some folks who think I do pretty good and they pay me for it too. But at the end of the day, I am here to give back and uplift people. And I find that that really brings me joy. It brings me happiness. It brings me peace. Okay. It brings me I can't even tell you how happy after we spoke yesterday. I went to work and I'm like, I've got this podcast tomorrow morning, and I'm so excited. And this is we're going to be talking about this and talking about that. And I've been working with these people for a while now, so they're used to me when I have different speaking engagements and things begin to pop up and come into play. They know what's going to happen. They know what the night's going to be like, right? And I
Uh-huh.
was just bouncing off the walls all night long just for the opportunity to come and speak to someone. And I think that's where it's important that we find that thing that is in us, like you with working with the older population and making sure that they have what it is they need, taking the extra time, putting in the extra steps that would allow them to get what they need so that they ultimately have what they want, which is something for their children, grandchildren, for their families. So JQ Speaks at yahoo.com is the primary and easiest way to get in contact with me. That will link you with a team of people that if you wanted me to come and speak, do anything like that, they will put it onto my calendar and we would go from there. I'm old school. I still use emails,
Uh,
right? So I'm considered a dinosaur. However, that is the easiest and best way to get in contact with me. We are in the process of getting up different social media platforms for the Freedom Trading Academy, along with that as well, and for JQ Speaks and the other entities that go along with that. But for right now, if you want to talk to me, JQ Speaks at yahoo.com will be the best way.
well, thank you very much. I'm gonna definitely check you out, and I just want to um, say I really, really appreciate you coming on the show. I too was excited. I even got to the studio like 40 minutes early. I'm never early, never that early. And I was really looking forward to having this conversation, and it was everything I thought it would be and more. So thank
Fantastic.
you
I'm glad.
so much for coming on. We have to get together again. It's a must.
Yes.
Maybe you, me, Aradis, and Aaron, and do another show. I love your passion.
Yes, thank you.
I truly, you're like me. Like my mother used to tell me, "Oh, it's better to give than to receive." And as a child, no, it's not. You're selfish as a child. You want to get all the candy you can get. I truly understand and appreciate, through by the grace of God, how good it feels to give, and the love that I get from just Medicare. I get like hugs. I get cookies because I'm at the table, all kind of stuff. And one couple, I went to sit down with them, and they're all strangers, all turning 65 or retiring or something. And it was a reverend and his wife, and they prayed for me. They prayed for my business. These are things that I never imagined or expected to get from just providing Medicare. And I do not consider myself a salesperson. This is my ministry because I pour myself into it, and I love it. I love the feedback that I get, and I truly understand what you mean when you say how good you feel, because I feel it too. I feel it.
Absolutely.
I wonder, I'm gonna try to find a word to put to it.
It's just a blessing.
It is.
That's all
Thank
that
you.
it
Thank
is.
you. It
It's
divinely
a blessing.
favored.
Absolutely, absolutely. But
Yep.
when you think about it that way, and you get more out of it than I think sometimes we realize,
Yeah.
just by doing what God has put into you to do.
Yep.
And everyone will not understand. It won't make sense. But when you really take a moment and think about just how good God has been to you
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do this kind of work, right?
Yes.
And to be able to be in a space where you can provide so much and you can provide so much. It's just really, truly a blessing.
Th-
And again, like I said, people don't realize how important they are. And I think that's one of the things that the Freedom Training Academy focuses on. If I can wake up the God in you, if you will, that says I can do all things. I can be whatever. I can transition into any situation, any circumstances, and I can flourish. God has gone before me and set and prepared a place already. Only thing I need to do is continue to walk and have faith that He has set this aside for me. Those are the things that we need to be reassuring ourselves of.
mm-hmm.
Those are the things that we need to be establishing in our youth. Those are the things that we need to be reassuring in our seniors. You still have a purpose. There is so much wisdom and knowledge that you have that you need to give to the next generation. It needs to be passed on. It needs to be shared because if you pass away without sharing your story, all that wisdom and knowledge is now gone
It
and missed.
is.
And
Amen.
will be worse off for not having it. So,
Hey,
but we have to tell them, you are
you got to
important.
share it.
I need you, and I need you to share with me. We have to share that with them. We have to tell the young people, this is you're more than what the world says that you are, right? And if I can get you to understand that you're more than just a basketball or a football, you're more than just a talent that you may have. You're more than just the beauty that you have. You're more than just again, what the world says that you are. And if I can unlock that in your mind and get you to see just how amazing you are, in spite of all the things that people say about you, what they don't say about you, what you wish they would say about you, and I help you to understand that you are more than enough. You are more than what the world could ever fathom about you. And when you understand that, you walk taller, you think a different way. It's almost like that light bulb goes off and everything is new. Everything, like things are firing in your mind. You've got ideas, you've got things that you want to birth and explore, only because someone gave to you the one thing that you needed, is let you know that you're enough,
Amen
just
to
as
that.
you are, just as you are.
That's
That's it.
right.
I don't have to do anything extra. I just have to simply be who God created me to be. And this is my lane. This is what I do, right? I can't go out there and throw a football from here to Mississippi. It's not going to happen. right? But
Right.
this right here, this is what I do, and we can. And if we all begin to walk in the different areas that God has blessed us to be able to walk in, I think our lives will be tremendously blessed for it because we're doing what the Creator has set aside for us to do. And when we do that, there, there's
Yeah,
there's
there's no stopping us. There's no
there's
stopping us.
no stopping us. Absolutely. Absolutely. So
So,
yes, you and Aaron and Mr. Radis and everybody, yes, we all need to get together. And John too. You got to bring
yes.
John along.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really enjoyed this. I want to thank our audience out there. I hope you guys share
Absolutely.
this information
Yeah.
and everybody have a great weekend and stay blessed. And once again, Justin, thank you. I
Thank
love
you so
you.
much.
I love your passion.
Thank you so much. And yours as
Have an
well. I
amazing day.
appreciate it.
God
Thanks, you as
bless.
well. You as well. Thank you.
This is Venita's podcast, and that's our show for today.